Here's an interesting topic. It's about poop, but not so much the poop itself and the gut issues. It's more about muscle tension. So it doesn't really bother me to talk about it. I don't really get embarrassed. Uh, I couldn't care less. But this might trigger some people, but it might also help some people. So when I was going through my journey in the beginning, I was very sensitive, right? Dealing with a lot of things. I was dealing with gut issues. I had gut flares. Not just that, just muscle tension, bladder pain. My pain. It felt like somebody was stabbing my bladder because the muscles are so tense. They were tensing up that it would have these stabbing pains. But the thing is, I had pelvic floor pains. My muscles in my pelvic. I didn't even know this shit existed. I didn't even know it was doing it until I went and got checked. And this lady, she put her finger in my bum. I didn't know people do this for a profession. They put their finger in your bum and they check your pelvic floor, right? And she wasn't a doctor. She was just a lady who does this kind of thing. And some people have issues with their pelvic floor and they shock them. They have these little shock kits and they try to get their muscles to relearn, right? Thank goodness I didn't take that treatment. But some people did it because, they would be leaking, or their butt doesn't close all the way, or their bladder doesn't close, so they use electric shock therapy of some sort, right? I didn't really look too much into it, but I just remember walking by a room and I hear bzz, bzz, bzz. I'm like, what the right? And they're like, oh yeah, it's something that we offer. If you're a candidate, if it's something that we might need to go down, we'll be able to do that. Blah, 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 blah. So anyway, she's like checking my butt because at that time I was having problems. Not only because I was having a lot of pain down there. My pelvic floor, I was having pain in my testicles. That my pelvic floor was so tight that my testicles started to hurt. And another whole can of worms, going to get checked at the hospital 5 times. Like it could be a kidney stone. So for 6 months I thought I was passing a kidney stone when I wasn't. All the tests came back normal. I didn't have a kidney stone. But they were looking for this, this mystery pain that I was having. I had back pain, pelvic floor pain. My balls would hurt, right, where I'd have to sit at home on the couch and I couldn't move anywhere because it felt like I got kicked in the balls. It felt like Mike Tyson was like... This could be a separate video about ball pain and pelvic floor pain and poop problems. Anyway, I'm getting... See how many symptoms I was dealing with. One would lead over here, and then this one would lead over here, and then... Right? So, okay, we'll just stick to the poop problems. So anyway, I had a tight pelvic floor, and I was having, I was pooping, whatever. Diarrhea, constipation, the typical, right, bloody diarrhea, all that shit, gut issues. Okay, this is what I was dealing with. But then things were going to start to get more complicated. Right, with pelvic floor pain, it was painful, but that's as far as it went from, I could handle that. I was like, all right, fine, whatever. Then I thought, I need to be regular. Like, this is crazy. I need to take some sort of supplement. And I couldn't take supplements at the time, but I was so sensitive. I couldn't take magnesium. I couldn't take my medications. I couldn't take anything. But I thought, I saw a naturopath and blah, blah, and they said, yeah, well, no, I went to the hospital and they said, yeah, well, you should take a supplement to make you go poop. And there's one, it's a big name brand one. It's like one that everybody uses, right? And of course I used it and I had a reaction. And when I had the reaction, I Googled it and I went down these rabbit holes and I went on these Facebook groups. There's these Facebook groups that these mothers created because I don't want to go down the rabbit hole because there's lots of Facebook groups. There's Facebook groups on the antibiotics that I took, Facebook groups on the supplement that I took to go poop. Any medication, any supplement, I guarantee you'll find a Facebook group that's going to bring you down rabbit holes and create a nightmare for you, right? So I was one of those. I was like, I wonder why I feel like shit after I took that supplement. I felt nauseous. I felt sick. After I took the supplement, it wasn't, sure, I had somewhat of a bowel movement, but okay, I'll get more into details, so this might be a little triggering. My poop looked like it was like thin, thin stools. It's like I was really pushing through something. I was like, it's like my poops here, I was going, and it was thinning out. I was like, why is it thinning out? What's going on? Oh my God. So I started Googling and YouTubing and Facebook grouping. And when I opened that door, it was some crazy fucking scary shit. And I was already sensitive. I went probably to 1 million at my baseline. My bucket was non-existent. It was just... And when that happened, it was like a big bomb went off in my nervous system. And everything multiplied by 1,000. All my symptoms went to shit. And my muscles went... They tensed up so much that all of a sudden, right, after a week of this, right, I was walking around with fucking tense muscles because I was surviving like crazy. I should have had a six-pack. I don't know how I did not have a six-pack. Anyway... So finally, you know, whatever, it's passing over. I'm calming down. I decided to get off of Facebook. I was still looping on what these people were saying. I stopped taking that supplement. So I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to poop. I don't know. And it wasn't so much that, like, first I was trying to regulate my poop. Then it wasn't that anymore. It was just, I just couldn't poop. And the reason was because I was so tense down there, right? And don't forget, I was also having bowel pain. I was so tense down there, it was like all of a sudden a wall came up. And if I couldn't push for the life of me, I'd be sitting there for hours pushing. I know there's poop there because I went and got a CT scan. They're like, no, you're fine. You're just full of poop. So go get some supplements and then go poop. So I'm like, okay, yeah, that's great. And then I couldn't poop. Like, what the fuck is going on? It's like a wall. It's like my hole is there, and a wall went... Actually, a wall went... Can't poop. No matter how hard you try, you can't poop. Where's it going to go? You know? Where's it going to go? It's going to come out your fucking mouth. That's what it felt like. So, what did I do? There was like a week where I did not know how I was going to poo. So I Googled, because my life's a shit show anyway. I know, like... It's probably going to say can't, like, you know, I knew that. But then I heard some people said, you know, there's situations where you just might have to get a finger cut and open up your anus because it's so fucking tight. And not just your anus, all the shit behind there was so tight, right? I could not poop. And it was holding my poop hostage, right? Anyway, so what did I do? I went and bought a finger cut. Whoosh. And I needed a lubricant. So what works? I don't know. Butter? Vegetable oil? Canola oil? Coconut oil. And I think they mentioned that. Use coconut oil. So I'm like, fuck it, let's go. And then the first few times was the most awkwardest feeling. Well, you can imagine. You're putting your finger on your bum. And it's so tight. I felt like my finger was just going to explode. It's just going to go... And I was like, man, I'm tight, but I thought, you know, this is normal. I don't know. And I finally got my finger in there, and I had to learn how to do this. So I went like this, opened up my bum hole, right? And I didn't get it the first couple times. And then I had 2 fingers. I'm like, okay, 1 finger. And finally, I opened up the bum hole, then stool came out. I'm like, oh... Finally, I look at my finger. Oh, take the finger cut like this, right? And then you close it with the toilet paper. The finger cut wraps around it into the garbage. Okay. That became my routine. After that, this is the beginning of my journey, by the way, for another 1.5 years. I had a poop chair. I had finger cots. And the thing is, I would have to order the finger cots ahead of time, because if I didn't, I'd be fucked. I couldn't poop. I need a finger cot. So I'd have to go to, you know, order them from Amazon, be prepared, have enough coconut oil, right? And I had to fish for poop. And then, you know, you go through ups and downs of recovery. And I knew eventually that this is going to take a long time for me to regulate my muscles. Because muscles are one of the last things to regulate because they're directly linked to your mind, right? So whatever you're dealing with here, and I had 70 symptoms to deal with. OCD, looping thoughts, all kinds of fears. Not just my muscles. My muscles just one of the 70. So you're constantly processing thoughts and you're going through ups and downs of recovery. It's going to affect your tension in your muscles. So my poop wasn't going to regulate to near the end. It was one of the last things. And eventually, I didn't force it. I just kept with my routine. It became a bit of a coping mechanism. I needed a finger cut. I needed to open it up. And that's how I pooped for a year and a half. Right? And then eventually all the muscle tension melted away. And it came to the time like, okay, I'm going to try to poop every day without the finger cut. And it was tough the first couple times. I still needed it. A couple times I didn't, but it was like my bum was not, it was getting a little too tight. Kind of, it was loosening up too tight. And then, then eventually I could poop normally. I kept the finger cuts just in case because I know there's going to be setbacks. And there was a couple. But eventually I pooped like a fucking pro. And I got my pooping skills back. And I was so happy. Right? But I had to be patient. And I knew this was temporary. This was just a temporary situation. Whatever. I did have one complication with the cuts. So, you're going through ups and downs of recovery. You have sensitivities come and go. And all of a sudden, it decided to say, hey, Helmet, we're sensitive to the finger cut rubber. So every time this would happen for like a week at a time, where the finger cut would make my butthole burn. So I started reacting to the rubber. I'm like, oh, fuck, here we go. You know what? Who cares? We're going to use the same methods for this rubber. We're going to train on the rubber. And I did, and eventually it cleared up. And I could use the finger cut like I always was. And eventually I recalibrated, right? Everything went back to normal. And I was able to poop like a champ. No problem. But if there's anybody out there going through this, watch my video again and understand, just have patience, use some of your coping mechanisms, but it'll be one of the last things to regulate, right? My bladder muscle pain lifted, my pelvic floor pain lifted, the stabbing pains I had. I did use coping mechanisms here and there. I had stretches that I did I'd breathe in through my diaphragm and I'd hold my breath and push out to pretend like my gut was this big balloon, right? And I'd hold my breath and let it loose. I'd be on the bed doing leg muscle stretches, right? Holding my legs like a little baby's position, like holding them like this, stretching, and then release. Did that for like a half hour, and then the pains would go away. And sometimes I had to do this shit because it would drive you nuts with the pain. You're trying to make food, and all of a sudden you got this crazy pain in your bladder and in your anus, stabbing pains. It's not a nice feeling. And it can make you catastrophize because it makes you think that something's breaking or something's going to happen. So it's okay to use these coping mechanisms. For now, it's only temporary. Eventually, it will regulate. You will get all function back. It will be back to normal. But you need to have patience. It takes time. And don't force it. If it's not ready, it's not ready. Go focus on other shit. Right? This journey takes time.